We're really enthusiastic for every opportunity we have to teach people in jail and prison how to be extraordinary and compelling. And one thing you can see from all of our work is that we never ask anybody to do anything that we didn't do. My name is Michael Santos, and I am super proud of the team that we're building at Prison Professors. We create opportunities for people who've come out of prison to transition into the job market. But in order to qualify for those opportunities, a person really has to use their time in jail and prison to prepare for a law-abiding, contributing life. That's the strategy that worked for me. Again, I never ask anybody to do anything I didn't do. I tell the same thing to our team members. And one of the things that we're always doing is trying to train people how to be the best that they can possibly be at their given task. Now, in order to do that, an individual really needs to use all of his or her critical thinking skills. And sometimes a person doesn't realize just how relevant their adjustment in prison can be to what they do when they come home. Look, it's really complicated to adjust when somebody comes back to society after a lengthy term in prison. Everybody that knows our program is familiar with my journey. I went into prison in 1987 because of really bad decisions that I made during the recklessness of youth. I sold cocaine, but while I was in there, I learned from leaders. Those leaders helped me realize I can do better, right? So I invested in all of this technology. I like to share the technology with our team because they should be able to see how complicated it is. Right? We've got all types of equipment here that we use, to present information to people inside of jail and prison. I want you to see it's not easy to learn how to do all of these things, right? I went to prison as a terrible student in high school, made a series of bad decisions, but while I was inside, even though I didn't have access to this technology, I developed skills that would make it easier for me to come back to society strong, build businesses, create income opportunities for other people, build investments, and build a life. But all of the work in prison is what put me on that pathway to do it. And that's why we create coursework that helps people learn. So I'm still learning, right? So you're going to ask you to bear with me as I go through these tools. And I'm going to be going through this process right here. But first I want to show you on Google that where you could get all of this information if you are inside of a jail or a prison. And if you have a family member, they should be able to go to our website at prisonprofessors.com. They should be able to log on to services, click onto a consulting menu, for example, and then just scroll through the consulting menu where people will see all of these different articles that we've created to help people understand, hey, how do we run our business? Look, nobody has to hire us for anything. Anybody can spend their time to learn and read and figure out, hey, how can I use my time in prison to prepare for success? But to do all of that, we need to make use of really complicated tools. Here is one of those complicated tools that we basically use to run our entire business. It's called ZOHO. And ZOHO is called a customer relationship management program. We have thousands of people reaching out to us, and it would be impossible for us to understand how we communicate with everybody if we didn't have these tools. So I can say I did not know what a customer relationship management software system was when while I was in prison, nor did I know what it was when I came out. But if you're going to become a member of the new economy, you really have to learn how to use all of these different types of technology, including email. Again, I'd never sent an email before I went to prison, but that's how we communicate in the world right now. Well, how do you use email? If you don't know how to think in terms of sentences and paragraphs and understand how to develop your vocabulary and use words that other people understand, you can never become an effective email communicator. But an email communicator is really how businesses operate in society. People operate businesses based on their ability to communicate in words, sentences, and paragraphs. So the more time a person invests to train themselves on developing strong communication skills, the better off they are going to be. They're also going to develop strong critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills, what that really means is just understanding how are the decisions that I am making today going to influence what I become tomorrow. Now you'll notice on the screen there I have extraordinary and compelling. I like to really hone in and focus on those words, because if somebody wants to persuade stakeholders why they're worthy of an earlier release date, well then they'd better have an extraordinary and compelling story. In fact, those are two words that stakeholders have to consider in order to assess whether to give relief to somebody. So the more somebody understands how to do it, the more they can start realizing, wow, my behavior today has a direct influence on what I become tomorrow. So that's why I try to show you, hey, this is how we do it. And this is one of the tools. Books, that's another component of our customer relationship management software program. So if somebody, I don't do sales or, I can't work with the thousands of people. There's just not enough time in the day. But in our books, here's how the process works. If somebody comes into our funnel, right, and says that they want to use our services, they would receive a scope of work that's really clearly detailed of what they're going to receive. Then the person would sign it because there's real clarity and transparency. The next step would be to, after that, the next step would be to send them an invoice. And the person would sign the scope of work. They would then send the invoice. And they would have total clarity on what they're going to deliver. We can't guarantee anything, but what we can guarantee is we're going to be 100% honest and transparent, and we're never going to suggest a pathway that we didn't take or that we didn't use. And so through our books program, we can keep track of all that documentation. Then there's another program, as you'll see here on Zoho. Let me go back to that section there. I don't think it's there, but let me see if I can find it here on my screen. If you scroll down, there's one that's called Projects. And Projects is how we track the way that we bring value to the people that work with us. So the projects are going to record every single interaction with somebody. And there's projects right there. So if I look, let me see if I click projects. So the best project management software for any business, right? It just shows us how to, what we're going to do. It provides milestones and time frames. And, it shows the company that we keep. Tata, a multi-billion-dollar company, Stanford University, Dell Computers. These are all companies that use projects. So if you want to function in companies like that, you have to understand how the company tracks its progress. That's a tool that we use in our company to manage the work that we're doing. You cannot do this. You cannot function in this world if you have not spent your time in prison learning English first, vocabulary building, critical thinking skills, and all of the things that we try to show and that I did while I was incarcerated, right? When I was incarcerated, that's what I had to do. If you go back to our section here and you go to services and you go to reputation building, for example, you're going to see the, I think that's going to go, yeah, it's spinning a little bit, internet's a little bit slow, but you'll see how I kind of document that entire journey of how I used my time in prison to prepare for a law-abiding, contributing life upon release. I want you to be doing the same thing. I want anybody that is a part of our team to be thinking about how do I build this record while I'm in prison, because that record can influence where you serve your sentence, how you serve your sentence, what opportunities open for you when you come home, what type of people come into your support system and say they want to help you when you come home. That's all what we teach in our courses. But again, you have to pay for that. You just have to do the work. Nobody should work harder for your liberty and for your success than you. I can't do it. I wish I could. I can't sell you a pill and say, take this pill and it's going to result in you getting out of prison sooner and it's going to result in you having a great income opportunity when you come home. I can't do that. What I can do is show you, hey, these are the strategies that worked for me. They're the ways that I build my own company, and I don't have to be perfect all the time. I can always iterate and try to get better. I can always try to improve it, and I can't do it by myself. I need to rely on our team. In fact, after I record this video, there's going to be a process. That process means somebody else is going to watch the video, and then they're going to create a much more organized flow of what we conveyed in this video, and it will become a kind of a teaching tool. Okay, but there are many people that are doing that. After that project is written, the next project will be another member of our team will publish it. They will publish it with the video, with the audio file that will appear on the Prison Professors podcast. It will show up on the Prison Professors app. It will show up on the Alexa app that we build. It will show up in all of the tools that we create. But I want you to see. I don't ask you to do anything I am not doing. If I didn't do it right the first time, it doesn't mean I'm going to make excuses about it. I'm going to create a process. And that process, to create it, I need to rely on people that are way smarter than I am. And if you can see the person typing behind me, that's Carol, the woman I married inside of a prison in August of 2003. I'm sorry. So, it's been 20 years, but she's been a part of my life and a part of our company ever since. And Carol, can you wave at the people? Just wave. They can hardly see her. She doesn't like to be on camera, but I don't do anything without her. And she's really helping us professionalize the company by auditing the things that we do. Again, I don't ask you to do anything that we don't do. So I will show you how that process works. Let's just see. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I want to show you what happened. There it is. I want to show you this tool right here. And this is like an email letter that Carol sent to our team because while she was auditing our work, she noticed something that needed to be fixed. Now I want to read this not only for training purposes of people on our team, but also for people in prison, because there's a lot of skill sets that somebody could develop while that person is in prison in order to create this email sequence, which becomes a part of our training tools. In fact, this video will become a part of our training tool. So what does it say? It says, hello again. For the purposes of sharing information, I am adding everyone who works with FSA, that's one of our products, into this discussion. Okay, now I'm going to kind of not only read it, but I'm also going to provide some commentary on why it's relevant. As a matter of best practice, that's something that we always strive to do. We define excellence, and then we create a path that will deliver excellence. So as a matter of best practice, communication with clients and delivery of services should be captured with projects. Okay, projects is that customer relationship management software we create to keep track of what we're doing so that people that work with us can make sure they're getting what we promised in real time. So that means we want to track what communications we're having in real time, right? I'm making a video right now. If I were having an interaction with somebody, I don't do this on a personal level. I don't do sales, nor do I do client services work. But if I did, I would be typing as I'm talking to Jim. And Jim is saying, hey, could you help me with this? And somebody on our team might be saying, yes, we help you with this. This is how we do it. We don't offer guarantees. What we do guarantee is we're going to give 100% commitment in our effort, and we're never going to ask anybody to do anything that we didn't do. That's all we can promise. We can't promise whether somebody's going to succeed in persuading administrators to let them out of prison early. But what we can do is show you the tools, the tactics, the resources that we use every day and show you this is what you should be creating in your life. And we have to track that communication in real time. So Carol goes on to write, this is especially important with FSA clients who sometimes have very long timelines before the service is delivered in full. Okay, why is that? Well, let's just say I'm creating a project that I sell to a prison system in Nebraska. And there's going to be 500 people going through that program. And of those people, they might have 10 years to serve on their sentence. I can't measure their outcomes on whether this made them more successful when they got out, because first of all, they got to get through 10 years in prison, right? It's a long pathway. And so you have to document this story so that you can demonstrate, hey, this is an extraordinary and compelling case. Maybe there's another metric I can measure, like more people that went through our programs were inclined to participate in vocational courses or GED courses or training courses or build more mentors in their life, right? I may be able to document that, but if I didn't document it, as management gurus say, if you don't document it, it doesn't exist. Our projects system helps us to document that work. But Carol notices, hey, everybody's not doing it the way that we want them to do it, so she's got to train, and that's what we're doing here. She's showing them best practices, and she's showing what happens if they don't. So best practice requires communication with clients. It requires us to capture it in real time. People are serving really long sentences, and by documenting, we create a consistent record of services that we've delivered and the contact we've had with the people that work with our team. Now, this transparency validates our work. It protects the company. It assures that we can respond to inquiries, or if somebody wants a refund, we can respond appropriately from an informed position. I mean, if we're working with 1,000 people, it's kind of hard to remember what John Smith said in March of 2018. Okay, but with our projects, we can document everything. And here Carol goes on to give an example. Some clients have demanded refunds after the fact by disputing credit card payments. Well, if we can prove that we've completed the work in accordance with the scope of work and show the work, we can make an informed decision on whether the person is entitled to a refund. But we're in a really difficult space where we work with people who are going through struggle, and sometimes they don't get the outcome that they want, and they want a refund even though we've done the work. Well, we're going to always be honorable and transparent and open and document everything. And if we didn't do the work, or if we didn't live up to it, as the owner of the company, I'm definitely going to give the person a full refund because our reputation is so important. But if we've done the work and if we've honored the scope of work, that's what we use to pay our team. So that's a legitimate business, and that's how legitimate business takes place in the world. We have to document the excellence that we're delivering, and we have to show that we're always documenting. And that's why I'm so proud of my wife, Carol. She's really helping us document the process so that everybody can see what's happening. And so, I showed you what the project system looks like on the ZOHO spreadsheet. Here it is in real time. She's very protective of our team and of people, so you can notice she's blocked out the names, but she's giving real examples of what we want to see. These examples make it possible for us to generate dashboards and timelines and where are we and what have we delivered. She trains by creating these really clear discussion points on things that are happening. She creates flow charts with other members of our team. A lot of this is blacked out, but the important and salient point for you, if you're watching this program, is you got to think about how are you using these same principles in your life. Are you being extraordinary and compelling? Are you able to document a journey of how hard you've worked to prove worthy of liberty? Are you earning your freedom? If you want to learn how to do that, I really encourage you, make sure that you are watching the work that we've created for you. Make sure that you've read our books, right? You can see them right here, someplace. Let's see. Oh, right here on Prison Professors, right? You can either go to the consulting tab and you can download all of this stuff for free. It's all right here. But look, There's a lot. We have more than 1,000 pages of content on here. We have, besides these pages, we have, if you look at, you can come up here to the top, and you can go to our iTunes page, for example, and you will see all the podcasts that are there, right? There's so many podcasts that you could listen to. You can go to our YouTube channel. Right now, I hope that's not going to blast out a video.
Our entire team at Prison Professors really appreciates.
If you go to our YouTube channel, you can see thousands of videos that we create, always striving to teach people how to help themselves. That's the work that our team does. Is we try to help people understand sentencing, how to prepare for sentencing, how to prepare for prison, how to prepare for success after prison. And this is the way that we can be the change that we want to see in the world. We have a Facebook page. Let's see if that links to our Facebook page where we're publishing content and teaching people. Apparently I have to log into that. We have a Twitter feed, that it's really, all this is kind of tied to me because I started all this as soon as I got out of prison. But excuse me, we're always trying to show awesome people. Here's and look at the science that goes with it. This is our Twitter page, right? I started that even while I was in prison. And, we publish all the time, but like if you click on these things, they go back to the actual story. This is an amazing story of a guy that was serving a life sentence. He transformed his life inside, and since then he's come home. There's the video. You see, it's all linked. All of that happens because you start preparing in prison to build companies like this. This is really a technology company, a media company, but also an advocacy company and a social services company. We have a nonprofit side. We have a for-profit side. I primarily work in the nonprofit space because I'm very passionate about helping people like you who are going through this program and who want to emerge successfully. I'm a big believer that as a guy who did a quarter century in prison, I have a duty and a responsibility to show people the best possible outcome. And that best possible outcome, I document what I did, right? How I did it. It's not necessarily what everybody wants to do, but like if you go down to the bottom of our page and you see the Prison Professor story and you click on the link, you can scroll through and see the journey from the time before I went to prison, when I was a kid making bad decisions, to the time I went to prison, to the efforts I made to educate myself while I was in prison, to the ways that I trained myself to learn about business, how I got married in prison, how I started publishing in prison, how I got out of prison, how I started building a career as a speaker in jails and prisons, or started a career as investors in real estate and building properties and building companies and businesses. You can see the first Tesla that I got. Other things you can see, huge investments that I've made that have resulted in really catastrophe. This is a horrible experience I had in 2018 where I invested, I think I have a picture of the check in here, like $1.4 million in this investment in Costa Rica, and it turned out to be a complete loss and a lawsuit and just a disaster. But I document everything, including testimonials, letters that I receive, what it cost me, right? I do all of this because I always will say, I don't want anybody to not know about me. In fact, the first thing I always say to people, I did 26 years in prison, because people have a right to know, but it's not a weakness for me. It's actually a strength. I've raised millions of dollars. I invest all the time, and I do this never sacrificing my passion to help as many people in prison as I possibly can become extraordinary and compelling. So visit us at prisonprofessors.com, where you can get an abundance of free information. Subscribe to us on YouTube, our Facebook page, our iTunes page, anywhere, and you can learn how and why the decisions you are making at the earliest stage in the journey are going to influence what you become later. We never ask anybody to do anything that we didn't do and that we don't believe in. I'm 100% open and transparent. You can reach me really easily. Actually, it's maybe not be so easily now because there's too many thousands of people reaching out, but I do the best that I can. And that's what I hope you'll always find in me. And that's one of the reasons I invested in all of this content here, so that I could communicate at scale, right? I can't communicate with every single person that reaches out to me, but by building this technology, I'm able to create content every day, and then our team can help us distribute this content, and hopefully we can influence more people in jails and prisons across America to believe in themselves. I believe in you. Our team believes in you. We ask that you subscribe to our program. If you have access to our courses or our books, we ask that you work hard and you prepare for a life of meaning and relevance and dignity. That's the way that we can be the change we want to see in the world. My name is Michael Santos. On behalf of our entire team at Prison Professors, I believe in you, and I thank you for being a part of our community.